rambling of the day. If this works, I guess actually I don't have my headset on, so I don't know a way for me to know because I'm not gonna load. I might as well just get into it because I have no idea if this actually works or not. I don't want to have my headset in today reading me the chat because I want to listen to Miles Davis on the way to work. Kind of Blue is a very special album. It's one that people should enjoy. Actually a beautiful album, honestly. Today's topic. Sometimes being nice is being mean. What does that mean? More importantly, what the fuck is this? So when I was 16 years old, I worked at Modell Sporting Goods, a defunct a national sporting goods store that had stores in almost every state. Very popular store. Had all those gotta go to Moe's commercials and stuff like that. And this sporting goods store paid $6 an hour. Minimum wage in New York at that time and federally in 2005 was $6 an hour. Now, my personal trainer, Dr. Evil Genius, shows up to some of these streams, and one of the things that he used to say a lot is what minimum wage means is if somebody could pay you less, they would. But that means, again, if minimum wage is $6 an hour and you're getting paid $6 an hour, that company would probably pay you 50 cents an hour if it were the law that they could pay you 50 cents an hour. Now, again, this argument neglects the fact that you may not be willing to work 50 cents an hour, but you get the point. Essentially, when you're getting paid minimum wage, that means that, the message that your employer is sending you, to some extent, if the minimum wage is a low minimum wage, is that you're worthless. Again, like if minimum wage in your area is 30 bucks an hour, then this is a different conversation. But for the most part, if minimum wage is $6 an hour and you're making $6 an hour, the message being sent is that you are worthless. And the problem with this message, and the problem with is what it does for your confidence. So when I was 16 and 17 years old, I did everything that I could to try and beat minimum wage at this job. I had a very difficult time finding a job. I applied everywhere. I knocked on doors of stores everywhere. I looked on job boards. I asked people I knew. The only place that got back to me was Modell Sporting Goods. And that was it. So I asked the managers there, the assistant manager and the regional manager, and also the store manager, I don't want a raise. I want to know what can I do to produce more value for you so that you have more money to pay me. And they said essentially nothing. Like there are no raises at this company ever. And I thought, that's just their way of discouraging me. And that's just their way of making sure that I'm not just in this for the money and that I'm actually going to do my job properly and blah, blah, blah. But they can't actually mean that. So what I tried to do is I looked at monthly sales and I thought, okay, what if I figure out a way to up monthly sales? I'm not a salesman, so I'm not going to win at that, especially when I was 16, 17. Even now, I'm really only a salesman for stuff that I'm good at. Like, I think I'm a damn good salesman for my company because I believe in what I sell. I sell a damn good product and service, and it's easy for me to, not hard push it and sell it on its own. Like, we do all of our work in-house. That place is going to be paying $500 commissions and $50 pay-per-click for their AdWords. We don't, which is why we're able to offer lower cost service. We have high retention rates, so the person that you're talking to has probably worked here 5 or 6 years, and you're going to talk to the person who's actually working on your particular data recovery case. Like, it's easy for me to sell my own service because I believe in what I sell. Back then, I'm not good at sales. So I figured out at this particular Modell's, it was a very small store, and one of the things that was limiting them and screwing them is that they had they got a lot of stock, but they couldn't fit it out because it was a small store. And a lot of it would stay in the stockroom or it would stay boxed outside the stockroom. And employees that make $6 an hour tend to not care to go back to the stockroom every time something's out of stock. And it's also very difficult to tell when something is out of stock in the front. Let's say that your store computer says that you have 20 of something. The store computer doesn't distinguish whether that's 20 on the floor, like 4 on the floor and 16 in the stockroom. So it could say that you have 16 in stock and all of those products are in the stockroom where nobody's going to see them because they're not out. So I came up with all these creative ways to put items out so that there would be less in the stockroom, so that you'd have to replenish items less and therefore have less time where somebody would walk in and something would not be in stock. Lots of customers don't want to ask if something's in stock or is it in the back because they feel like they're bothering you. And even the people that don't care if they're bothering you, maybe people that are pussies and afraid of confrontation in any way, shape, or form, or any sort of dealing or any just talking to another human being gives them intense anxiety for whatever the fuck reason. So I came up with these creative ways to put products out everywhere. So one of the things that I remember doing is I made what I called a product kaleidoscope. So the kaleidoscope is where, let's say, instead of putting 3 pieces of merchandise in a peg, I would, like, instead of putting 1, 2, 3, I would put 1, 2, 3, 4. You get the idea. And by doing it that way, the plastic part of the product that stuck out was no longer hitting against the next one. It was hitting against the flat portion of the other. It's hard to explain without having it in a picture, but instead of putting 3 products on a peg, I could easily fit 9 or 12, and I did this throughout the store. Now, it looked a little silly. But sales went up over time, and the sales went up by an amount that would have easily allowed them to double or triple my salary without noticing it. And when I remember after a few months of this, I came back, I talked about the difference in what I was doing. I talked about the difference, in my approach to stock, why I made that difference. I pointed out how the sales had gone up when I looked them up, and also how the sales were more than they were last year. So it's not just that this isn't just the time of the year where sales are going up. This is not just the time when sales are going up naturally, but the increase in sales from like last month to this month every day is way more than it was last year by a large margin. And I believe that's because of what I'm doing. So I'd like 50 cents. Like, can I go from making $6 an hour to $6.50 an hour? And they said no. And at that point, I felt like shit, because I felt, it doesn't matter what I do. My work has no value to you. Not only does my work have no value to you, it has no value to anybody else. Because as I said, nobody was willing to hire me. Like, no companies hired me for anything. Any of the companies that I applied to, I wouldn't hear back from. None of the offices, none of the friends that would like refer me to companies that they worked at that were looking for people would hire me or even interview me. So I was kind of stuck here. So I remember saying, like, I will do virtually anything to make more than minimum wage. I don't care what it is, and I don't even care if it's 10 cents over minimum wage. It's just the psychological effect of knowing that I am worth the bare minimum was bothersome to me. So I did my best to seek out something else I could do, and I came across a lifeguarding course. And I saw that lifeguards were making $8 to $9 an hour, which is great, because there was one girl that sat next to me in Mr. Pelinkovic's English class. She's actually deceased now, unfortunately. She had how do I put this? She went out with the wrong dude. Be very careful who you go out with, and be very careful if you go out with a possessive dude, because that can end very poorly. But I didn't mean for the story to take a dark turn. She was always talking about the promotion she was getting at work. Like, she started at 6. She worked at some cosmetic store in the Staten Island Mall. Then she made $6.50. Then she made $7, and now she was making $8.50. And she would just rub that shit in my face that she made $8.50, and I made $6, and I was doing way more work than she was. She would brag about the fact that she didn't do work and she was making $8.50, and I was making $6. I'm like, motherfucker. Hey, so I see this lifeguarding position, and I see this course at the YMCA. So I decided to take it. It's a week-long course. It's about 5 or 6 hours a day. I go to take the course, and at the end of it, I fail. This was really embarrassing and humiliating for me, because one of the people in the class was, and when I say this word, to be clear, I do not mean it as an insult. I mean it as a technical definition of the person's mental condition and mental state. One of the people in that class was actually mentally retarded. He did not kill the doll, but I did kill the doll. So I was not qualified to be a lifeguard and to do basic CPR, but he was. So then I went to take another CPR AD course, because they only gave this course once a year, and I was not going to be able, once every 6 months or a year, I wasn't going to be able to take it again. So, my dad actually takes me into Manhattan, because he had some stuff he had to do that day to show me around. I didn't really know how to use the train into the city, and the express buses into the city back then. I only had gotten around like Staten Island and a little bit of Brooklyn. And I go to take the express bus into the city. I take this course. It's a CPR AD course. It's one day. They cram it in, and it was this older, really hard ass older woman that was like newer shit. And at the end, I killed the doll there too, and I kept killing it no matter what she told me. I just kept destroying the doll. I couldn't do CPR AD, and at one point she tells me, "Do me a favor. Do not take this class over. If you become a lifeguard, people will die and it will be because of you. There are many things that people need done in this world, and I'm confident you will find something that suits you. Do not do this. And I remember feeling like the biggest piece of shit that day. Like, I not only did I fail at this, but this woman said if I took this class, if I did this again, I would probably kill people. Find something else to do. You are bad at this. Now, all I was looking to do was beat minimum wage. That was it. Like, I didn't have a high standard for myself at the time. You know, I was, and that at that time, I was sharing an apartment that was in a very, very like ratchet part of where I lived. That was like $900 a month. So my rent was like $450. When your rent is about $400, there's not really. When your rent is $400, it doesn't really matter what kind of job you have. Like, you don't need to make a lot of money. For me, I needed a working television, working internet, working stereo, and I'm good. I don't need to do much. So there's a good chance that if I had actually tried pursuing lifeguarding, that's what I would be doing. Because, you know, I just, at that point in my life, I did not really have a lot of ambition, and I didn't, you know, I don't really need a lot to be happy. Like, you know, give me my real karma. You know, give me my Cohen A2 portable media player. I'm showing my age there. Give me a Cohen A2 portable media player. Give me a 4:3 aspect ratio computer monitor and my home built PC from 4 years ago. And like, I was a happy dude. Lifeguards at that point in time made $9 an hour. If you got promoted to like a supervisor or like head lifeguard at some really expensive place, you maybe made $12 an hour. I think about that every now and then. You know, let's say I had banged my head against the wall trying to figure out how to not kill the doll. Let's say that I took that course 10 times over and I actually became good at it, which is very unlikely because there are some things that you're good at, some things you're just not good at, and there's usually reasons for it. What if I was a lifeguard right now? Like, in all seriousness, what if I was a lifeguard right now and like I made $12 an hour? Because like I didn't have a lot of ambition. I just wanted a place I wanted my internet. I wanted to be able to pay rent on a cheap, shitty apartment in a shitty neighborhood. I wanted the ability to play my Final Fantasy when I came home. Like, simple guy. That was it. That would have been a radically different life. So, you know, it kind of hurt, but I eventually did find what I was good at. You know, I tried a bunch of different things and I found this. The idea, after doing 2 or 4 or 10,000 board repairs and getting really good at it and teaching other people how to do it and starting a company and all this shit, like the idea of being a fucking lifeguard for a city pool, oh my God. Needless to say, I think I'm better off where I am. That woman did me a giant favor. Do not do this. You are bad at this. If you do this, if you take this job, if you continue, somebody will be hurt because of you, because you are not good at this. There are many things in this world that need doing, and you will find something that you are good at, but this is not it. Very harsh words, but good words. There's this one person that came to my course a while ago. Jessa and I have a different approach to the motherboard repair course that we offer. She firmly believes like I offer a weak course. I have no barriers to gatekeeping to anybody. I will give everybody a chance to learn. I have the very different mentality. I have that lifeguards mentality. Like, some people are good at shit, some people are not. Some people can like try their entire life. Like, I'm never gonna be a good basketball player. There's just certain hand-eye coordination, response time stuff that like, that like I could become better, but I'm not gonna like be competing on with people that play well anytime soon. I could always become better, but there are some things where needless to say, there's diminishing returns. There was one guy that showed up, never gonna forget, my tutoring, and it was something like, it took him like after one day I realized this is going absolutely nowhere. Like, this is not for you. It just fundamentally is not for you. Your brain does not wrap around this stuff. And just like the way he was handling his hands, it wasn't even like shaky hands, because I have very shaky hands myself. It just fundamentally, this is not somebody that's ever going to hold a soldering iron and make something work again. Combined with the fact that he didn't understand a lot of what was on the screen. I just sat him down and I said, listen, like, this is back when we were charging thousands of dollars for this. Like I said, this is something that you're probably There's a lot of challenge here. I put together this tutoring system because I wanted people to be able to emulate my results if they had a similar business. You do not have a similar business. You have no experience doing any of this, and in my opinion, I could be wrong, I do not see you making any progress anytime soon based on what you have shown in the past day. I do not want to take your money to teach you how to do something that, in my opinion, you will always be bad at. You're welcome to prove me wrong, but I'd rather you prove me wrong without giving me money that I don't feel like I'm earning. So I'm going to refund you, and I'm going to suggest that you go do something else. I saw him on LinkedIn the other day. He's a senior data engineer at this company, and I looked up what like senior level data engineer. Usually data engineers are like 80,000 to 160,000 a year. This guy makes $180,000 a year. $180,000 a year doing this. How? And he's good at it. He's been doing it for the past 5 years. Like he quit. He was kind of sad when I gave him that refund. And I'm guessing that he gave up on the idea of having his own little MacBook Logic board repair business. Now, everybody watching, raise your hand if you run a MacBook Logic board repair business and you make over $180,000 a year. If anybody here raised their hands, that means they're lying to you, because this repair industry does not pay jack shit. It does not. It does not. And if it does pay you well, it's because you got overwhelmed with work and you are cherry picking easy jobs and not doing the others and becoming overwhelmed with work. And then once you get overwhelmed with work, you're not able to do the work. And then when you don't do the work, you get a bunch of bad reviews. And then when you get the bad reviews, nobody uses you anymore and you no longer make the money. Like this, 99% of the people doing this are not making 180K a year. But I learned something from that lifeguard. The nice thing is not seeing the potential in everyone. The nice thing in that case is telling somebody, listen, I don't think you're going to be good at this. Now you could prove me wrong, but I would suggest that you find something else to do. Because the one thing that I think is one of the most cruel things you could do to a person is ask them to continue doing something that they fail at and watch them repeatedly fail. That's painful. And this is something that would happen when I would avoid firing people back in the day. Like I would feel like, who am I to say that you're bad at this? Who am I to be the arbiter of it? But that's not what cruelty is. Cruelty is not looking at somebody and saying, I believe that you are probably not going to be good at this, based on the low level of progression that you have made thus far. It's not really about how bad you are, but how do you incrementally improve, given enough time. The cruel thing to do is continuously put somebody in a situation where they fail. Where they fail over and over and over again, and they know that they're failures, and they know that they suck. Make them feel okay, make them feel like they need to enter that uncomfortable space of doing something new and trying something else, because what they're doing right now isn't working. Man, imagine if I was a fucking lifeguard right now, making $9 an hour at the YMCA. God damn. That would be something. I'd rather be where I am. And the thing is, here's the thing, I'd still kill that damn doll. I had to call 911 yesterday because somebody fell off their bike and they were wheezing and they were convulsing and having a seizure. And the person on the phone, the 911 operator, was telling me, like, okay, can you look and see how they're breathing? Are they doing this? Are they doing that? Don't give them CPR, but we may ask you to if, like, they should exhibit these symptoms. And I told them, I'm not giving this person CPR. The last 2 times I took CPR, I killed a doll. And my instructor told me not to give anybody CPR because if I did, I would kill them. I'm okay with that. I will let medics be medics. I will let ambulance technicians be ambulance technicians. I will let lifeguards be lifeguards, and I will be okay with being a decent board repairman. Which I guess soon we'll have to be moving on to something else, since this industry is kind of circling the drain at this point. But that's not new news. It's nothing like spending $200 to $300 on a donor board when you used to be able to spend $10 on a chip. Nothing like spending $400 on a screen that you have to solder chips onto to get it to work when you used to be able to spend $38 to $72 on a screen to get and it just worked. Everybody is going to have to find things. You're probably not supposed to say those types of things to people. But I'm happy there was somebody out there that told me that I sucked. Anyway, that's about it. I'll see you in the next one. Talk to you all later. I'm gonna drive down a pretty road and get a pretty view. There's something about going a 2222 and finding a shoulder portion. There's one shoulder portion where you can park and look over the water. Not the water, just the hills and shit. It's just beautiful. Makes me happy. Anyway, I'll see you later. Bye now. Have a great morning, everybody.